Let us start with the main event, Chuck. DDP,
Yep.
the new UFC middleweight champion. Look, it wasn't a bad fight. It just was coming at a very late hour after a string of sort of ho-hum fights. Overall, what did you think of his performance, and what did you think of Sean's performance in his first title defense?
Well, first of all, before when we taped our show and I said that Toronto always has a little bit of magic, the fights, like Du Hu Choi and all that stuff, and GSP and First Jones, Gusta, throw that out the window. That's just that did not happen tonight. I kept waiting for something, but it just didn't happen. The fight was good. You're right. It was a good fight. I think they went back and forth. There was a lot of stuff in there that was a little surprising with the main event, which is always nice. But I think you're right. Like there's just it kind of died on the vine, and it's one of those cards. It's just it's going a certain direction, and by the time you get to that main event, it's just tough to recapture any energy. But they did go at it. I thought that you might get some more mad moments in that fight, some stuff that would really get you out of the seat where there'd be something crazy going on. I didn't really feel like it ever did anything like that. Didn't really tilt either way. Both guys survived. I think there was a lot of talk about, killing each other in this one, but nobody died. That's good. But I thought that DDP showed a lot of poise, man. Like we're so used to seeing him kind of go into like an activation mode where he just starts coming forward and winging punches and things like that, and just kind of getting really, kind of crazy in there. And he never really did that. He remained very poised. We were able to see what he looks like in the championship rounds. I thought he looked good. He was able to compete. I thought Strickland, you saw him go through some adversity. He was getting taken down. He was getting up. He was still landing that right hand. The jab was working all night. It was a good fight. It's just I think that they got it right. DDP won, and that's pretty impressive, considering that I think that we were worried a little bit about the psychology of Strickland and like maybe he wouldn't be himself and all that. I didn't really feel like that was an evidence. I think he showed up, he fought a good fight, but he just got beat tonight. And it was just one of those types of things.
Pizza, your thoughts?
I thought Drix's cardio was fantastic. That's the thing we wanted to see rounds 4 and 5. I think he did a great job. Um, Obviously I can't help but ponder what becomes of the cult of Sean Strickland after this, because I mean we hear John Anik talking about this guy is getting traction like Conor McGregor and stuff he said in the aftermath of the fight before the scorecards are read. Obviously massive traction this week for outlandish comments again. Comes in, can't like doesn't defend the belt. I just wonder where he goes from here in terms of, is that fandom he has, is it attached to him being the champion, or is he just one of these personalities now? Is Sean Strickland just a massive, massive dude inside this organization still?
I don't think it affects him. You see him take the microphone there. He just has this way of connecting with people. He says, maybe I'm a P word. I thought I won. Everyone cheered. I mean, he got a louder pop on the way out than DDP did after winning. There seemed to be like a few South African fans there. There was one guy wearing like Speedos in there. God bless him.
Saw that.
And the shot of the people in South Africa celebrating was very cool, very smart of them to do that. But I really don't think that Sean Strickland needs a belt at this moment. You know what I mean? And you can make the case that, look, I ranked them before all of this. Of all the scenarios, I thought Izzy versus DDP is the biggest fight. Or maybe I said it was Sean. I don't know. But I kind of feel like this is a win-win for the UFC because you get Izzy versus DDP, and Sean Strickland is still a player, and you can have him fight Lord knows who. I don't know. If Paulo Costa wins, imagine Paulo Costa versus Sean Strickland, something like that, right, next month. So I don't think his stock takes a huge hit. And again, it was a super close fight, and even when I tweeted, I thought it was 3-2 DDP. I saw a lot of people saying Sean won. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people. I'm sure there's people online right now who are saying that, Sean got robbed and whatnot. Did you score it, by the way, PT, for Sean or for DDP?
DDP, I did 2-3-4 to DDP, I think.
Yeah.
No,
I thought he did enough.
Yep.
Look, DDP has come a
Two
long
was
way.
very close. Two was very, there was very close rounds there.
Didn't see this coming from DDP. Like when we first saw him, his style is still a little bit herky-jerky, right? It's not, someone who comes from a kickboxing background, it's a very unique style. And to his credit, as they said on the broadcast, like you can't talk about the cardio anymore. That's not a thing. He just went 5 rounds in a title fight, and people just can't seem to figure him out. I don't know what it is about the guy. He's one of the most unique fighters that we've seen climb the ranks, Chuck, in quite some time. Because like if you sat someone down and said, "Hey, look at this guy," and told him like this is one of the best fighters in the world, someone who doesn't know anything about MMA, they'd be like, "What are you talking about?" But yet all he does is win.
I know. Yeah, they showed that graphic where he's 7 in a row in the division. Now he's in the same page as like a lot of these guys who we held in the highest regards. It doesn't quite feel like that, but I mean, you got to give him his due. There's no such thing as winning 7 by fluke, and I think that he's one of those guys who he never really looks the same. Although I feel like that was a little bit different tonight. Even was that he just didn't seem to go into that mode. I thought we'd catch him at some point. I don't know, maybe he gets hurt and then he just starts going forward, whatever it is. And he just seemed like he was very calculated, real methodical, and that's kind of a new wrinkle, honestly. Like he was more methodical this time than I think we've seen in the past. He couldn't overwhelm. Maybe he was waiting for the moment, but he couldn't overwhelm Strickland. And I think that was kind of a key too. Like usually you see there's just a moment when he I think he believes he's got them and he just comes on strong and is able to do something. So there was a lot of new information there, and who knows, like Israel Adesanya is like a student of the game, and I'm sure if he watches this fight, he's going to be able to look at it and probably get something more out of this, and maybe know what to do more. So it'll be really interesting, and if they do make that fight, I do think that we did talk about this, and I do think that that's a big fight. So I think that the UFC wins in that situation too, and I don't know. You tell me. I don't even know. Could it be 300? I don't know his recovery table, but I feel like that's a big fight.
I've inquired. I haven't heard anything back as we are recording this, but I've inquired multiple times about Izzy leading up to all of this, and I am repeatedly told not ready to go at 300.
We'll see.
I don't know if there's anything bigger. Honestly, it's a fine. Remember when DDP beat Robert Whittaker and Izzy got in the cage back in July? Like, that was as hot as it got, right? And there's a rivalry there. There's tension. There's a history. Hopefully, it doesn't go into that dark place. But like, golly, it just seems like every month we're going into dark places these days. So, I don't know. Maybe the UFC now says, all right, how do we make this right? How do we get you to come fight at 300? I don't know. There's another story to be told here. And by the way, just for those wondering, the scorecards, Derek Cleary had it 10-9 Strickland in the first. Then the next 3 rounds, he had 10-9 DDP and then 10-9 Strickland in the fifth. So he had it 48-47 DDP. Eric Colon had the exact same scorecard. So first and fifth for Strickland, 2-3-4 for DDP. I think we all agree with that. Our good friend Sal D'Amato had it differently. He had first, third, and fifth for Sean Strickland, and then second and fourth for DDP. So he was the one who gave it to Sean Strickland. The other story here is, remember just a few months ago, they were mad at DDP. He was in the doghouse because he didn't take that fight in Sydney. And so it just goes to show, for any UFC fighter out there who feels like his back is against the wall and you got to take the fight because you'll never get the chance again. Look at this guy. He sat back. He was steadfast in his belief that like, hey, it wouldn't be smart for me to turn around. As bad as Izzy looked that night in Sydney, turn around on 2 months' notice after beating Robert Whittaker. My time will come. And a few things had to break his way, right? Like Khamzat gets hurt, this and that. But here he is as UFC champion. Who would have predicted when Dana White said like, hey, this guy didn't want to fight? Who would have predicted that it worked out like this for Dricus du Plessis? It's remarkable on many levels for him.